Step onto the porch with your 85-year-old self. Picture her in a rocker, warm mug in hand, replaying a highlight reel of your life. Ask her two things. Will I regret taking the winding road that taught me resilience, empathy, and creativity? Or will I regret spending my prime years obsessing over other people's timelines? Almost every listener I coach reports the same answer. Future you values the detours because that's where the grit, grace, and great stories live.
Welcome to the Choose Better Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Doyle, certified life and leadership coach, and I'm here to help you make your complex life feel easy. Every episode, we tackle one subconscious limiting belief. You will leave this space having shifted your mindset to level up your career, embrace a Zen-like style of parenting, and finally savor the life you've worked so hard to create. So pop in your earbuds and let's do some coaching.
So picture this. It's 9:07 a.m. The house is finally quiet. Your coffee's been reheated again, and the day's first Zoom hasn't started. A quick LinkedIn scroll while your email loads, and bam, your college roommate, front page style, promoted to vice president. Your chest tightens. Before you can tap the clapping hands emoji, that inner narrator mutters, I'm so far behind. I've heard this story in different variations from a number of clients, and I personally can relate to it big time. At 25, I had worked in a couple of law firms and a couple of startups, but I felt I had nothing to show for it except for a handful of generalist skills and a reputation for a woman who can get things done with high quality. I felt so behind watching my peers' linear career paths and growing content specific expertise. I debated law school for a while and ended up in a public policy program, believing that a public service label might finally fit since it aligned with my values. After grad school, I spent a decade in education policy, externally getting promoted and thriving by all accounts. But I still had this vague feeling that I was just missing out on something elusive that my peers seemed to have. The psychology degree I had dismissed as charming but useless sat on a shelf like a reminder of choices that weren't paying off. Then, in a leadership workshop, a facilitator asked us to map the common thread in every role we'd held. Mine was so obvious when I wrote it down. I was obsessed with how people think, decide, and change. That workshop opened a little door to the idea of coaching. And suddenly, the dusty psych degree was no longer a punchline. It was my core credential. Everything started to make more sense, but only more than a decade after I had started my formal career journey. So if you're an ambitious mom comparing yourself to peers, or even drawing up a new chapter while quietly feeling like everyone else seems miles ahead, stay with me. Over the next few minutes, we'll talk about a brain pop-up blocker that can catch the I'm behind script before it hijacks your focus. We'll talk about a 90-second reset routine you can run while the microwave counts down, pure nervous system science, and zero fluff. We'll use a reframing lens that turns every zigzag on your resume into evidence that you're resourceful, not late. And then we'll end with a micro action play that you can plug into any of your busiest days to keep building honest momentum. So let's get started. Comparison begins in a blink that you can almost miss. The instant you see that VP promotion headline, your shoulders lift, your breath shortens, and a tiny alarm inside your brain fires. It's like a built-in sensor yells, something's off, catch up. Researchers have watched it spark on brain scans whenever we look at someone who seems ahead of us. It's like your mind mistakes their win for evidence that you're losing. So first, call out the spark as it happens. Literally whisper, pop-up detected. Naming it drags the moment into the light, which gives you power and options. Next, name that hidden scoreboard. Open a note on your phone or grab a piece of paper and finish the sentence, I think I should have by now. Maybe it's director title by 35, college fund fully loaded by 40, or jeans that fit like pre-baby. Seeing those lines in black and white reveals them for what they are. They are borrowed rules, not universal truths or not even your actual truths. Now narrate the entire chain like a play by play. The fact is that my roommate posted a promotion post. This fact makes me think I'm behind. When I believe this thought, I feel urgency in my chest. When I feel urgent, I tend to open a bunch of job search tabs. I don't focus on my current project. I ruminate. I compare myself to a different, more perfect version of myself. When I do this, I get a scattered result that keeps me right where I started. Notice that you're thinking if you just hadn't seen that post, or if your roommate instead had posted something about feeling behind and a little lost, you think you would feel more on track, less urgency to change something about yourself. But it is never our circumstances that create our feelings. It's always the story we tell about them. And the brilliant part about the human experience is that we have the option to tell any story to ourselves that we want to. Sure, it's easier when our circumstances naturally trigger stories that feel good. But this work is about regaining our power when they don't. But before fixing anything, quickly drop into the body for 2 minutes. Sit tall and locate urgency. Maybe it buzzes in your chest or maybe it tightens your jaw. Just get familiar with the feeling. Simply witness it, the buzz, the tightness. Observation alone drains some chemistry, and more on that later in the podcast. With the body a little quieter, ask and answer these 3 questions. Question number 1. What am I thinking I'm behind exactly? Maybe it's a timeline stitched together from other people's resumes and my own perfectionistic stories. Just notice that you're the one determining what behind means to you. Question number 2. If that finish line vanished, what would generally interest me right now? Maybe it's pitching the cross team workshop I keep sketching in my notebook. Pay attention to the little ideas, the little nudges, the little patterns in what you do in your downtime, or you simply prefer to do when the opportunity arises at work. Allow yourself to notice when you seem to lose yourself in something. Looking back at my own career, I can see that it's no mistake I was obsessed with infographics in grad school and elaborately beautiful Google Sheets to manage workflows. I have always been interested in communicating information in a way that eases the cognitive load of the audience. And I have always been interested in efficiency, growth, and productivity. No one asked me to make sure that the Google Sheet was easy on the eyes and intuitive to use. This was my own creativity poking through. Question number 3. What evidence says my path is working? Maybe it's something like I delivered a product update that added $500,000 in revenue, or I have 2 mentees that still text me for advice and I'm happy to give it. Take a moment to notice that your path may not seem linear to you, but that it's full of a million ways you have added value. I invite you to zoom out now and picture your career as a constellation, not a racetrack. Some stars flare fast, others glow slow, but together they form a picture that only makes sense when you step back. I offer you this grounding line. Every pivot taught me a skill I am using now. And start to notice how you are leveraging your experiences in your work today. It just may not seem obvious on paper until you take a moment to yourself to reflect. Okay, so we've shined a light on the thought, I'm behind. So now let's work on a deeper level with the feeling of urgency it unleashes. The feeling of urgency can feel like a drill sergeant barking, move, 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 right inside your rib cage. The moment comparison sparks, your body releases a cocktail of stress chemicals designed for sprint level action. Harvard neuroanatomist Jill Bolt Taylor famously timed the raw surge of a feeling at about 90 seconds. After that, the chemistry dies down, unless we keep fanning it with more anxious sentences. So, our job here isn't to banish the urgency, it's to ride that 90-second wave until it rolls back, then decide what it was trying to tell us. So, first, name exactly what is happening in real time. I feel a fast, buzzing pressure in my chest. That's urgency, not truth. Saying it out loud is like turning the lights on. Suddenly, you can see what you're about to do. Next, give your nervous system the 90-second exit ramp it is craving. Plant both feet on the floor and press your heels down. Inhale for a slow count of 4, hold for 2, exhale for 6. Do that twice. Then add a tiny bit of movement in your body. Roll your shoulders back, shake out your wrists, or if you're standing at the kitchen counter, do a groggy neck stretch while your coffee reheats. Simple motion sends the all clear signal up to the vagus nerve. We're not in danger. You can power down now. After 90 seconds, most of the chemistry has drained. What's left is the opportunity to examine cleaner data about what you value. In other words, when you allow the feeling so that it can subside, it's easier to see what is true for you right now. You can treat urgency like a well meaning but super dramatic friend. Thanks for yelling. What are you actually worried we're going to miss? Here are 3 questions you can use to find this inner truth and use these data. Number 1, what need is my urgency revealing right now? Maybe it's I'm craving meaningful stretch goals. Number 2, why is this important to me? Which value of mine is it tied to? Maybe it's something like growth or creative impact. And number 3, given these values, what's one tiny step I can take today that isn't chained to a deadline? Maybe it's something like I will block 20 minutes on Friday to outline the workshop idea I keep daydreaming about. Schedule that step directly into your calendar before you move on. Don't just write it on a note, schedule the time. Then, because working mom life never wastes a good hack, thank the feeling of urgency for the heads up and picture her trotting back to the locker room until she's needed again. She will be back all the time. So let's work with her without letting her run the show. Okay, now that your nervous system is back in neutral, let's switch on our curious side and see whether the story I'm behind can actually stand up to questioning. Start by stating the thought exactly as it appears, no dressing it up. I'm behind in my career. Write it in black ink. I cannot say enough about how seeing your thoughts on paper freezes the sentences long enough for you to poke at them from every angle. Ask yourself, almost like a lawyer cross examining a witness, is this statement a photograph or a caption? The photograph is neutral data. Years worked, roles held, projects completed. The caption is the meaning you've scribbled underneath. Almost every single time I'm behind turns out to be a caption. You can even list really specific raw data. Maybe you navigated maternity leave and still hit your Q3 numbers. Maybe you pitched a stretch project and got a reluctant yes. Maybe you quietly built a cross functional squad that now runs like clockwork. Scan your list. Do you see the word behind anywhere? No, it's absent because facts rarely accuse us. It's our interpretations that are doing the shouting. Your brain, bless it, will immediately try to defend the original story. Confirmation bias loves to replay evidence that fits its current narrative. Cue the highlight reel of everyone who seems to have leapfrogged you. So we are balancing the ledger on purpose. Let your eyes rest on that list for 10 slow breaths. You're giving your reticular activating system fresh material to notice. Now, I invite you to close your eyes and imagine your life as a 10-chapter novel. You're reading from chapter 7 right now. The plot is smack in the messy middle, not the epilogue. Picture the pages still blank beyond this point and ask yourself, if my story isn't finished, what wide open possibilities live in chapters 8 through 10? Notice the shift in your chest. It's really hard for urgency to breathe when curiosity walks in. And to widen the lens even further, step onto the porch with your 85-year-old self. Picture her in a rocker, warm mug in hand, replaying a highlight reel of your life. Ask her two things. Will I regret taking the winding road that taught me resilience, empathy, and creativity? Or will I regret spending my prime years obsessing over other people's timelines? Almost every listener I coach reports the same answer. Future you values the detours because that's where the grit, grace, and great stories live. All right, so you've loosened the old timeline. Now let's work on a new belief so that your days start lining up with the life you actually want, not the one LinkedIn scoreboard keeps feeding you. Maybe try on a new sentence that sounds like, I'm learning at exactly the pace I need. Say it once, then immediately reflect. If that's true, what am I hungry to experience next? What would simply delight me about my life if it were true? Not what looks good on a resume, not what earns polite nods at your barbecue. What would light you up on an ordinary Tuesday? Close your eyes and picture yourself 12 months from today, waking up in a life that makes your shoulders drop in the best way. Notice what you're wearing as you pour coffee, what you hear in the background, how your face feels when you open your laptop. Are you leading a brainstorm with people who energize you? Are you blocking off an hour to draft that article you keep outlining in your head? Are you sliding into a standing desk rather than a chair because you finally made movement non negotiable? Capture this scene in one vivid paragraph. This is your delight visual, and the richer the sensory detail, the harder your brain will work without you even trying to treat it like an upcoming appointment rather than a vague wish. To simplify this, I like to pick a single word that captures my picture. My word in this upcoming season is playful. It would just delight me if my coaching and my marketing and my parenting and my health felt playful. Like I'm just playing around. I'm just trying this and that. I'm just goofing around in life. Behind this light word is a deep trust in myself that when I keep it light, I feel more like myself. And when I feel more like myself, I create more value for the world. I have this deep trust because I do the exact work that I am teaching you right now. And I take the time to get to know my ever changing self every day, just like you are right now. So your map is drawn, and now it's time for motion. Just enough motion to convince your brain that the new route is real. Forget 90-day plans for now. I invite you to look for one single action so bite sized that your nervous system stays relaxed and your perfectionist side can't hijack it. Pick something that takes less than 5 minutes and lives inside the scene you imagined. If your delight visual features leading creative brainstorms, maybe you pull up your calendar, find a 15-minute slot next week, and label it Draft Brainstorm Outline. If delight showed up as morning walks, you could set out your sneakers by the front door tonight. Or maybe you send an invitation to a director for a virtual coffee right now. The key is immediacy. Choose a step simple enough to finish between the moment this episode ends and the next work or household interruption. When you're done, say the win out loud, even if you are alone. I sent the invite. That outline doc exists. That spoken acknowledgement pairs movement with a tiny hit of dopamine. Small but deliberate actions celebrated in real time train your brain to trust that you follow through on your own ideas, which means it will back you more readily when bigger moves arise. So look at the ground you just covered in just a few minutes. I am so proud of you. You caught the moment comparison tried to commandeer your morning, named it before it snowballed, and let the surge in your body crest and then roll back instead of driving you into job search chaos. You cross-examined the sentence, I'm behind, until it shrank from a neon billboard to a flimsy little caption, then replaced it with a belief that your nervous system could actually relax into. You sketched a day in the life that lights you up and proved its reality with a 5-minute move that your future self will thank you for. That is not a pep talk. It's neurological repatterning and values-based planning in real time. While your Slack pings, lunch boxes, and laundry keep rolling. Savor that evidence. Momentum lives in your calendar now, not just in your imagination. So over the next week, keep running the pop-up detector, keep doing the 90-second reset, keep working on the micro action ritual. You'll notice the comparison loses its grip faster each time, and your delight visual will actually start to become your real life. And if you want company and calibrated guidance as you map out your next chapters, tailored tools, real-time coaching, and a community of women working the same muscle, join me inside the Choose Better Thoughts coaching program. We go deeper into these practices, we celebrate together, and we build the kind of sustainable confidence that does not need a LinkedIn headline to feel solid. So until the next episode, keep your eyes on your own constellation. I will meet you back here with fresh tools and another mindset myth that we can dismantle together.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Choose Better Thoughts podcast. If you found these ideas helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who is also craving more confidence, connection, and calm. For more free resources and a deeper dive into my step-by-step formula for making your complex life feel easy, head over to my website at choosebetterthoughts.com. Until next time, remember that you're already there, already enough, and your goals are as good as done. You've